morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, this is the first video in a series of 4, which is going to be dealing with the starter decks for the game Sorcery. So these are pre-constructed starter decks that you can pick up on their Kickstarter. We'll have some information or a link to their Kickstarter down below. We're going to go through the Fire starter deck, and now this isn't going to be a learn to play or anything like that. There's definitely some good videos out there on how to play the game. This is going to be more of looking at each individual card and seeing where improvements may end up being and stuff like that. Now, just as a disclaimer, this is the beta testing TTS mod, so anything in here is subject to change. These are not the final versions. Things change. A card may be tweaked, balanced at any time before they printed it physically. So just note that some things may change. Some things might have already changed. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the avatar that comes with this deck here. And it is the avatar of Fire. Got your pretty basic 20 health, 1 damage. Tap to play or draw a site. And then tap, discard a fire site. You may move 1 step and cast fire bolts for free. Now this was recently changed. The fire bolts for free. I believe before it was fireball or something like that. The problem here is you do not get fire bolts in the starter. Now they are a common in the set, so you'll get them, but they don't come in the starter. So that cast fire bolts for free is kind of just something you're not going to end up using just straight out of the pre-constructed, which is kind of a shame. I really wish that they would add some fire bolts into the deck instead, to really allow you to experience all the effects the avatar can produce. But honestly, a way to move. Now, granted, you do have to tap, discard a fire site. You may move 1 step. Anyone can cast fire bolts for free. You're probably never going to use this ability while playing the pre-constructed, because you could just tap her and move, and then you don't have to discard a fire site. It does kind of seem wonky. I actually think that the tap part should be removed from here. It should just be discard a fire site. You may move 1 step and cast fire bolts for free. That would be my critique on the avatar, but still, pretty basic avatar, especially since you can't use half of the stuff on it. Let's take a look at some of the locations. Now, we're going to have some exceptional, unique, and unique. Let's take a look at the uniques first. The River of Flame, it produces 2 threshold, which is great. Very, very good card. Cast 2 fire spells on your turn. Shift this river to avoid anywhere in the realm. This is an incredible card, especially if you get this in your opening hand. You can put it on your avatar and then load it up with some mobs, and then boom, just move it anywhere you want after casting maybe 2 fire bolts once you have some fire bolts. Yeah, very, very strong location. Really like this location. I really enjoy the art on it. It is a bit much, but that's kind of the point. It's really just a very good unique site. So the next one, I'm gonna just absolutely brutal the name. No, I'm not even gonna attempt the name. I'm terrible with names. So this is another unique site. Now, uniques, you can only have 1 in the deck. This one, 1 threshold, 3 threshold. You may sacrifice this location to deal 3 splash damage on nearby sites. Now, sites don't take damage from splash, but if there's any enemies in those sites, they will all take 3 damage. Nearby means, you know, left, right, top, down, and diagonal. So this is your whole perimeter versus adjacent, which is just left, right, top, down. Yeah, if you're playing fire, you're gonna run one of these. How often are you gonna use this? Probably not that often. You're not gonna use this every game. Because you are throwing one of your lands and a threshold at that. So the odds of you using it are lower, but when you do use it, it is going to be a big play. It is going to be a bomb play. So yes, I would run one of these in every fire deck you get. I think it's a fire staple. Same with the river. Alright, Stonehenge. Okay, now this one is not a fire card, so it does not produce a fire threshold. Stonehenge is an exceptional site, and minions here have Spellcaster. I actually think this card is a good card. I do not think it will go in every deck you ever make because of the no threshold, but I think as we see the game develop more and more, yeah, I could see you running 1 or 2 basics that don't have thresholds. And this is a strong contender for a basic that I would run, because it does allow you more, depending on where you place this on the board, especially in a fire deck, it is going to allow a stronger reach of your fire spells versus just being on your avatar. Very good card. I definitely would never, probably not run more. Oh, that's an exceptional, so exceptional. Yep, you can have 2. So yeah, you could possibly run 2. I wouldn't. I feel 2 is too much. I would definitely run 1 of them though. I think it's a very good card. And some interesting things that will come out of it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Cornerstone. So another neutral or basic location, no threshold extra. Now, things that don't have threshold will still produce mana, but they just won't produce threshold. This cornerstone may be played on a corner wood. So normally you must play your sites adjacent to a site you currently control. Cornerstone voids that. You could just place it in any of the 4 corners. Doesn't matter if it's adjacent to anything. It just allows you to break that game rule. And you'll see that we have some cards here later that will also work well with this. So Cornerstone, I actually think it's a very good card in certain combo aspects. Should be fun to see how this progresses in the next coming years. Okay, Shifting Sands. This is a fire site, does produce a threshold. Genesis, which means coming into play. Till end of turn, minions summoned here have haste. A very strong ability. I really like this site, and I'm glad it's in the starter, because this is a site that I would run in most of my minion-based fire decks. I think this is a site that we will definitely see more of, and be thankful that it is in the starter. We will be using this. Okay, now we get into some of the ordinary sites. Now, first one is Arid Desert. It does produce a threshold. It has Genesis. When this desert may deal 1 damage to a nearby minion or site. That's very, very good. So what this means is if you place it next to an opponent's site, you could do a damage to that site, which is essentially doing a damage to their avatar. Another thing is, like, you can place it next to a minion, pink them for 1, and then maybe hit them with a spell to take out a minion, a more higher powered minion. So you add a 4 powered minion, and you need to get them down to 3 to hit them with one of your spells. This will get you there. I think this is a very good common. Very strong common. Probably see these in most fire decks. Definitely worth running. Next one is Remote Desert. Pretty much exactly the same thing. One thing, Genesis, deal damage to a nearby minion or site. So, see that the Red Desert is also exactly the same. So, this is their gimmick, this plink damage. I will be honest, unless you can kill the minion, it's always worth it to do the damage to the avatar. You know, you got 9 of these here. That's almost half of an avatar's damage. Just in plain sight. Are you going to get all of these out? No. But say you get 4 of these out. So say you started, maybe drop River of Flame on your avatar, and maybe you put, I don't know, Volcanus front. And then your opponent's shifted off over this way. You can start dropping these in front of their locations and start pinging their avatar. Very strong. I really, really, really like this mechanic with fire, and I think it's definitely an interesting and fun mechanic. So let's look at what comes in the actual spell deck. So first thing I'm going to look at is their relic, their artifact. So an elite relic of Drums of Doom. If a nearby minion is targeted by a spell or ability or takes any damage, kill it. Okay, that is pretty darn good. So what you're supposed to be doing with this is placing this on one of your minions and you're carrying it into battle. And then you start maybe dropping some deserts next to them and plinking minions for 1. And now they straight up die. You know, if the minion takes, if a nearby minion takes damage, it straight up dies. There's also other ways that you can target them. So you just target a minion and it dies. This is a very fun relic. I actually really like this relic in water. Water has a lot of targeting abilities that don't do a lot of damage or any damage. Same with air. So I think this is going to be a very fun card to be looking at. And it comes in the starter, which means it's going to be very accessible. And I would definitely think about, you know, keeping one of these around. Let's take a look at it here. Heat Ray. Ordinary magic. So, cost 2 with 1 threshold. Deal 2 splash damage in a line in any cardinal direction from your spellcaster. So, this is where, like, Stonehenge is really good, because you can put Stonehenge, say, like, here. And maybe you have your avatar here, you have Stonehenge here with a minion. Now, that opens up this and this. Or this only opens up this and this. So that's one of the reasons why Stonehenge is A, in the deck, and B, how you can use it effectively. So this does 2 splash damage, so anything in its line will take 2 damage. Yeah, not bad. 2 for 2. You're probably gonna, most of the time you're only gonna get 2 damage out of this. Maybe you get 4, depending on if they have a lot of burrowed or submerged characters. Then it gets a little bit harder to splash damage hit them. But yeah, I think this is a very good card. Definitely be running a couple of those if I was playing a fire spellcaster deck. Will of the Wisp. So it costs 1 with 1 threshold and has 1 attack. Airborne Voidwalk. After combat, this Willow may teleport to a nearby void location. So it has to survive combat. Let's be honest. It's never going to survive combat. I mean, the odds of it surviving combat are so low that it's really feasible. I mean, yeah. So it is what it is, but it does have airborne. It does have voidwalk, so that is nice. It it's good territory control, you know, to put it in a territory and keep a territory occupied. But it's not a very good card unless you have a way to give it extra power. I don't foresee this being exceptionally, which is a shame because I really like Will-O-the-Wisp from Magic, one of my favorite black cards. Yeah, like if it just had some way for it to live through combat, it would be different. But if you can give it power, it is a very strong ability. After combat, teleported to a nearby void. That is pretty powerful, but you got to find a way to make it live through. Okay. Quartersome Kobolds. +4 with a 2 threshold and a 3 power. At the end of your turn, these kobolds must deal damage equal to their power to another adjacent minion or themselves. So, it doesn't have to be your minion, but it could be your minion. Or they're going to deal 3 damage to themselves. So, technically, they get 2 attacks. If you can keep them in the fray. They're decent. Little spendy, but you are getting 2 attacks, so you are getting 6 power worth of attacks if you can set it up right. But there's going to be turns where you just don't set it up right and they kill themselves. At 4, yeah, I probably wouldn't run these in a competitive deck. I definitely would have to test it out, but I think there should be much better creatures. In fact, we're going to talk about one. Ancient Dragon. This thing is sick. Okay, this is a beast of a creature here. 7, 2 threshold. Yes, it costs quite a bit. 5 attack, airborne, ranged 1, and splash damage. This guy is truly a beast to deal with. So, airborne makes it so it's very hard for other minions to attack it. The splash damage means he's going to do 5 damage to everything at the location he targets or attacks at. But that ranged 1 is super powerful. It means he doesn't have to go into the location to attack it. It is so very strong. It gives this deck a form of reach that it just doesn't have normally. This is a very strong creature. And I'm not talking just power-wise. It's only 5. It's not bad. But the abilities, the things you can do with this creature, this is one that I would run in just about any fire deck. Might be worth running 2 because he is so just beefy. Only downside is he doesn't have spellcaster. So if you are running a heavy spell deck, maybe more beneficial to run some of the other rares, ultra rares that have caster versus him. But still, he is so good at clearing out little creatures. He's very good at doing damage without taking without taking the retaliate. Very strong character. Oh, let's look at some more. We got Blades. Okay, cost 3 with 1 threshold. An avatar or ground minion gains +3 movement and deals 3 splash damage on each side in its wake this turn. I actually really like this card. This card is a card that I really, really enjoy. What it does, it allows you to go, so you start here, you're like 1, 2, 3, allows you to get that reach, that reach that you want. And on top of that, anything in these sites are going to take some splash damage. Very, 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 very good maneuverability card. Is it a 2 of? Probably not. I might run 1 in most of my decks. Might run 2 if I'm heavy ground spellcaster, mage style. burn deck, I might run 2. But I think I'm always going to end up running 1 just for that maneuverability with the avatar. You know, being able to get your avatar out of danger, leave behind damage is very good. This is a very, very strong card. Now, another minion here. 5 with 1 threshold, 3 attack. Haste, Iron Skin, movement, +1. So, Iron Skin means you have to do 6 damage to it to kill it. Haste is, well, haste. Very strong ability. And the movement is also really good. What makes this card really fun is dropping them on your furthest location and then using them to run into the opponent's location and then start attacking. Very good minion if you are running fire minion based. This is definitely one that you will be including in. Okay, Cerberus in Chains. Okay, cost 4 with 2 threshold and has 5 attack power. When Cerberus is chained to the site, this Cerberus is chained to the site where it was summoned, and it cannot move further than adjacent locations. Unleash it if the site moves or leaves the realm. What this means is, whatever site you initially place him in, he can move, but he can only move to the adjacent locations and back to the original site. So pretty much that cross, or that cross, that's his movement zone. He cannot move, you can't move him left once and then left again. No, he has to stay in that center location. Now, if that location shifts, let's say, River Flame, or if, say, you blow up the location, then he's unleashed, and can move as normal. I mean, it's 4 for 5 power. That is very good. As we saw, the other 5 power minion costs 7, but has a lot of really good abilities with him too. Yeah, this is a mid-grade character or minion. I don't foresee it being like super popular, but definitely playable. May see its way into a couple decks. I don't know how competitive this really will be, other than for like aerial denial and control of your area. So, Infernal Legion. Cost 6 with 3 threshold, 6 power, fire immunity, splash damage. So it does splash damage. That's really good. At 6 power, yeah, you're going to be taking out a lot of little stuff. At the end of your turn, this Legion deals 1 damage to... At the end of your turn, this Legion deals 1 damage on nearby sites. So some of the wording isn't the greatest, so we have to like decode this one. So because it says on nearby sites, not to nearby sites, I'm assuming it's just doing 1 splash damage to nearby sites, which the sites doing splash damage to sites do not hurt your avatar. So I don't think that this will deal damage to an avatar. But what it will be doing is dealing damage to minions in there. Yeah, I mean, a little spendy, but definitely a great way to take out, Zerg-like enemies. Alright. Major Explosion. Cost 7 to threshold. Choose a center site of this explosion in a cardinal direction from your spellcaster. Deal splash damage. Spellcaster takes no damage from this explosion. Okay, that's very important, but spellcaster doesn't actually take damage. So we're looking at 7 in the central, 5 in the adjacent, 3 in the nearby, then 2, and then 1. This this can take out most. You should be able to take out at least two big threats with this card. Is it as good as a Wrath? No, but honestly, this is definitely something that I will be running in my fire deck. It's just a good amount of damage that very nice to have. In fact, I might end up be running a couple of them because it's elite. I think elite you can run 2, exceptional you can run 3, and ordinary you can run 4. Maybe wrong. I may be first on elite and exceptional. I don't think I am, but I could be wrong. So yeah, very good card. Very good card. Nice board wipe. Good reset tool. Definitely something you want to have in your arsenal. Okay, Incinerate. Cost 5. Deal 5 splash damage on a site near your spellcaster or dragon. Near is your full 360 from it. See, this one says on a site also, so not to a site. And this one specifically says splash damage. So I think the Legion just needs to be reworded to be more consistent. Yeah, a good card. We'll definitely take out some minions. It's more defensive than. I mean, I guess it can also be aggressive as you're bringing in your ancient dragon. You're able to clear some paths, but he can do this by himself. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Okay. Pilrock Basilisk. Cost 4 with a threshold of 1 and a 3 attack power. Minions on the site directly in front of the Basilisk are petrified. Okay, well, fortunately, like, petrified is a keyword, I guess. So we definitely have to look up what petrified is. And that's one of the issues. No reminder text, but they also want to keep it as clean as possible. So you will definitely want to keep some of your, stuff here. The problem is they don't even have petrified in keyword. But we can assume at least petrified will mean immobile, or it can't move. But does petrified also mean that they can't attack? That is the question. So there's definitely some things that they could really work on in the wording department. So does he stop enemies from attacking also? I feel like that might be a little too powerful if he did. Making them so they can't move be good, but can they still block? Do they do damage back? Or are they just straight up petrified? Can they not retaliate damage? Some questions that need to be asked on this. Depending on those answers, this card becomes extremely powerful in certain ways and pretty weak on others. So we'll have to see on that. Flashfire. Cost 4 with 2 threshold. This is an aura. Conjure near your spellcaster. This Flashfire deals 4 splash damage whenever it traverses. At the start of your turn, it moves to an adjacent, previously unburnt site. If it cannot move, discard it. Use markers to keep track of burnt sites. I'm probably never gonna. I don't think this is enough. It may be strong enough, but I don't know. There should be better cards than this. Let's be honest. There will probably be better cards than this. Good filler card, but definitely see this being a card that you eventually move away from. Okay. Broccoli Dragonettes. Cost 5 with 2 threshold and 3 attack. Airborne. At the end of your turn, these Dragonettes launch three bolts, each traversing in any cardinal direction. When they hit an enemy, they deal 1 splash damage. So I believe you can choose 3 different directions, or you can choose the same direction. These things are really good. These are really strong creatures because they can get the 3 damage out, from their power without ever having to engage. I really like these guys. And to be honest, this art is amazing. Look at that art. Oh, they're so absolutely cute. Wouldn't want to take some of these home. Yeah, this is one of my favorite cards. I really enjoy it. Okay, let's start looking at some other cards here. Okay, Harpies. And yes, as a reminder, this game is meant for adults, not for children. Cost 4 with 2 threshold. 3 power, airborne, Genesis. So when it comes into play, carry a weaker minion from anywhere in the realm to this Harpy site. If that minion is an enemy, these Harpies attack it. This is a really good card. Okay, this is a really good card because you can drop this, grab a 2 power minion from anywhere, move it to the Harpies, and the Harpies will take it. Or a 1 power minion, or a 0 power. Maybe they have, like the Queen, which gives them a lot of card draw, and they've got her pretty well protected. Boom. Play this, drop, bring the Queen over, take it out, or the King if the King is lower powered. Can't remember. Very strong card. This is a card that I would run in most of my fire decks. It is a control-oriented card. I really enjoy this card, and it does things that the rest of the fire deck doesn't do. Very good card. Minor Explosion. Cost 3 with 2 threshold. Choose a center site for this explosion. Up to 2 sites away from your spellcaster. Deal splash damage. The spellcaster takes no damage from this explosion. So it's a mini one of those smaller ones. Only costs 3, so that's not bad. We'll do 3 damage and then 2 adjacent and 1 nearby. Not going to kill most things, but in conjunction with maybe you dropped a red desert in that general area and you were able to plink something, so maybe you can get 1 or 2. Most of the time this is only going to kill 1 thing or severely injure 1 thing and allow you to kill it with an attack. Probably still going to run these because there's not a lot of other things that you could run instead that we've seen so far, but yeah, it's a little weak. As we get new sets and new cards, this is a card that will definitely get phased out. Fireball. This is the better version in general. Cost 4, 1 threshold. Okay. Your spellcaster launches a fireball that traverses in a cardinal direction from your spellcaster. It explodes when it hits an enemy, dealing splash damage. So, first off, the 2 adjacent is kind of weird because it's never gonna hit all. You're not dropping it from top down. You're dropping it from a straight line out. So the first enemy it hits, it's going to do 5 damage, and then it's going to do 2 adjacent and then 1 nearby. Still, I very much like this card. Cardinal direction is kind of rough, but that's why you have Stonehenge in the deck. Gives you some more options there. Good card. Very good card. One of the things that you could really do is you could drop, say, like, Cornerstone there. And then now you have an adjacent location. You could drop a Stonehenge there against there. So say this was their avatar starting location. Boom. And boom. Now you're right next to their starting location. Yeah, very strong. Very strong. This is one of the reasons why I like Cornerstone. It gives you something that you don't get in some of the others. So Fireball's good. We'll see how it ages, but definitely a good card. Okay. Ogre Goons. 3 with a threshold for power. These goons must attack an enemy minion if available. So, yeah. I mean, a lot of times they're going to end up killing themselves. But for 3, I think because their power is greater than their cost, I think these are bad. Now, they're common, you know, as we know, over the lifespan of a card game, stuff like this becomes obsolete. It's power creep. You know, in 3 years, we'll probably see this exact card, but it costs 1 with no threshold, and it's a relic, you know. But honestly, for now, not a bad card. Art looks great. I love the art on this. Yeah. How much to say on that? I'd use them if I got them, or if I had the space. Okay. Australian Cavalry. Cost 3 with 2 threshold, 3 power, haste. Yeah, it's not a bad card. Its power to cost ratio, I think it actually costs a little bit more. Should, because it does have the 2 threshold. 1 threshold would have been fine. But this keeps it from being played in too many multicolor decks. Yeah, it's a basic good unit. Much to say, it is what it is. You're gonna see that in a lot of these coming up here. Scarabs cost 2 with 1 threshold, 1 attack. Airborne. On death, these scarabs explode, dealing splash damage. I actually don't mind the scarabs. I think the scarabs are fun. Because you can get 4 damage out of them, which is pretty good. 4 damage for 2. I like the scarabs. Good creature. Rattlesnakes. Cost 2 with 2 threshold and 1 attack. Burrowing, lethal. Yeah, these are good. Much as I hate to say it, these are good. Straight up kill some bigger stuff. They have burrowing, so you can just keep them burrowed, and they create a nice area control for forward positions. So barreled under maybe a forward base or a forward pushing area. If the enemy attacks into that, you can pop them up and block with them, straight up kill something. So yeah, I'd probably run the maximum most of my fire decks. It's a really strong card. Camel costs 1 for 2 power. That's it. Savannah Lions. It's okay. This would be one of the first creatures that cut. Well, unless I need that 1 drop. But 1 drops are bad. So okay. Cost 2 with 2 threshold, 3 power, fire immunity, and movement 1. I like the movement 1. I think that is a very strong ability. The fact that these guys can move so quickly. They're cheap. Yeah, you guys are not bad at all. Okay, stand 1. Cost 4, 1 threshold, or a 5 power, burrowing, firebound. This worm can move while burrowed. Really good. So moving while burrowed is a very strong ability. The firebound means, unfortunately, only be in locations that have a fire threshold on it, which does mean it's not very good on the offensive. Actually, it's absolutely crap on offense, but very good on the defense, especially with the keeping it barreled, popping it up to do blocks. A good defensive card if you are going for a more defensive line into a spellcaster background or backline. I think Sandworm is He's a card that you would want to consider. Other than that, is it very good? No, sadly, it's not very good. But it definitely has its uses, and we'll see play. Especially in the first set. Wayfaring Pilgrim. Cost 3 with 2 threshold. Has one power. It is a spellcaster. So, that is extremely huge. It is a spellcaster. Very good. When this pilgrim traverses a different corner of the realm for the first time, draw a spell. So the first time it gets to this corner, you're going to draw a card. First time it gets to this corner, you're going to draw a card. So technically, you can get 4 cards out of it. Are you going to get 4 cards out of it? No. You probably get 2. That's okay. Works well with the cornerstones. What really makes this card stand out is that spellcaster. Having it being able to shoot your fireballs and other things while still being mobile versus your avatar, which is mobile, but you want to protect more than you want to put out in the front area. Now, the 1 power means he does die pretty quickly, but I actually think he's really good. I think we'll see more of him in the future. Alright guys, that was my review of the Fire pre-constructed deck for Sorcery. I like it. I think it's a well-constructed pre-constructed, with the exception of a couple things, like not having Firebolts in the deck is an oversight that I think should be rectified. I think with the pre-constructed, you should be able to use every ability on the avatar. And yes, you can use that to move, but you can also just tap it to move and not discard a fire site. So I would definitely say they should maybe take out the minor explosions and put in 2 Firebolts. That's what I would like to see. Other than that, I like the mechanic of the deserts. I really like Shifting Sands and the Cornerstones. The 2 uniques that you get in here. Yeah, this is a deck. If you're starting out, interested in playing Fire, 100% approve picking up this deck. It will give you a good baseline to start from. Beyond that, I don't think we have. Oh, and of course, it comes with the Stonehenge, which you may not end up using too much in the Fire deck. I mean, definitely probably will, since Fire does a lot of spellcasting. But at the same point, there are other decks that will probably also use Stonehenge. So it's nice to be able to get that. Nice little uncommon that will be useful. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back next time with one of the decks. Till then, see you later.